Hello, welcome back to my art channel. Today I'm gonna be spending time in my studio working on various pieces of art accompanied by Drusilla. I'm planning a painting and I wasn't sure which paper I wanted to use. I decided to cut up the sheets and test different stuff that I plan to use for this painting on these swatches. I gathered a whole bunch of paint, mostly gouache and acrylic, and decided to figure out which of these reds in particular I wanted to use for the background. The gold will be an accent for later. I quickly drew out some little horse heads to test out my paint, since this painting is going to be of a horse. I started with my Turner Design gouache. This is my highest quality gouache, and ultimately it's the one I end up going with, but I did want to see how it compared next to the other paint that I have. I label everything on these so that when I come back to them, it's easy to know what's what. Also, good to have for future reference. This is my Arteza gouache, and immediately I was struck by how streaky it was, not just on the paper, but in the palette too, compared to the Turner gouache. This is acrylic, also Arteza, and I don't end up liking how shiny it is compared to the gouache. See that? I hadn't tried my acrylic gouache yet, ever, so I decided to give it a go, and I really like it, but it felt a little thick and I was worried about the coverage. So I'm covering a very large area with this paint and decided that the Turner gouache is the best option. Now I have some ideas for effects I want to use in this painting, and so I decided to test them out on the swatches again. These papers are two completely different textures, and in trying out these effects with acrylic and gouache paint over the top of the Turner gouache, it was immediately obvious to me that the smoother paper was going to make getting the effects I wanted really difficult. As you can see here, there's no dry brush effect very much. It's more just a blob of paint, whereas on this textured paper, you can see there's more of a dry brush palette knife effect, and I like that a lot better. Really surprised me though, because going into this, I was pretty sure I was going to use the smoother paper, especially because part of this piece of art is going to have a lot of colored pencil over it, which is what I'm going to test here. I paint these swatches with watercolor before I go in, just so I can get an effect of the color. It's not really what I'm going to use. But yeah, I just wanted to see which of the paper textures was going to be better for each of the mediums I had in mind for this piece, and I'm glad that I did the testing, because ultimately what ended up being the case is not the paper that I intended to go with. So if you're torn between paper or mediums, I recommend doing tests. They might surprise you. I was very surprised. I tried out my Prismacolor pencils and my Derwent watercolor pencils and decided to go with the Derwent. Since this is a kind of day in the life in my studio, I'm gonna take you along on my day here. Drusilla hangs out with me a lot in here. After I did the swatches, I went and got some lunch, and it was a weirdly chilly day, and so hot cocoa had to be in order. After lunch, you know what? That was my breakfast, actually. But anyways, after lunch, I decided to do some thumbnails for this painting that I'm planning, and I'm gonna do it on 11 by 14 paper, as you probably saw at the beginning when I was showing you the two different sheets of paper that I have. I'm just using what I have on hand. But anyway, I did these thumbnail squares in the ratio of 11 by 14. I tried both landscape and portrait views. I will have a full process video of thumbnailing and drawing and painting this painting in the future. So if you want to see that, stick around and please subscribe. And if you're enjoying this video, please give me a like. Thank you. I was actually planning to do more than 4 thumbnails, but I ended up just doing 4 because once I got these 4 done, I realized that I was absolutely sure on which one I was going to use. And hilariously enough, it was the first one, but it's good to do multiple so that you end up actually knowing what you want to do. And also, the odds of it being the first one, not typical. I do also really like this third one that I'm doing right now, and I might do a companion piece to go with the first painting. I'll have to think about it. Now the tricky part will be transferring this idea to much bigger paper. My thumbnails always seem much more dynamic, and capturing that in a bigger drawing is always a challenge. I tidied up my sketchbook, put everything away, as I needed the space to check on a digital painting. You can get a sneak peek here of my filming setup. I moved this little table around to film either at my computer desk, my drawing desk, or my easel. So I have this Kaladin painting that I've been working on and have different versions of, and I've let it sit for some months, as you'll hear in a moment, and I needed to check on it to assess it. I took some notes on the things that I had figured out and feel good about where I'm going. Sometimes you need to take some time away from a piece of art when it's very frustrating for you so that you can see it more clearly. And I took a lot longer away from Kaladin than I intended to do. It's been over a month, maybe 2. But I was having a really hard time with it. There was so much that I just wasn't liking, and I was not sure why. And now that I have looked at it again, both of the versions that I've been working on and the start of the third version from the second version, I was able to more clearly pick out the things that I like from each piece and determine a plan for going forward for this painting. So if you're having a hard time with something and you're not on a deadline or something, give it some time. Give it a couple weeks or more if you have that luxury. If it's a time crunch piece, give it a couple hours maybe if you need to step away, and you can do that for a little bit. It might make it easier when you come back to figure out what's going on. Yeah, just some thoughts. It was time for my actual lunch now, but before I went to make food, I went outside for a little bit because it was such a lovely cloudy day and it's been so hot here. So I went and hung out with some snails and my cat and enjoyed the cooler weather. It's gone now, unfortunately. Had some lunch and decided it was time to start Arcane, and I am so behind. I should have done this ages ago. I'm 2 episodes in now and super enjoying it, and I kept forgetting to eat while I was watching. I took my plate up and went outside again, listening to the thunder. And then it was time to work on a watercolor painting that I'm doing. The last watercolor painting I did, I rushed so hard. And so with this one, I'm slowing down. So this footage is from my second session where I was starting with the sky, part 2. And I got interrupted by a tiny void fiend.
Hey, are you helping?
She shook my camera really bad, and so I had to kind of stop for a while to endure this silliness. I've been watching some watercolor instruction videos here on YouTube, and as I'm going through over this painting, much slower, I've been trying those techniques, and so far I'm really liking where it's going, but I am still having issues with some texture and overworking some things. The sky turned out really nice. I really, really like the sky. But I have this problem where I go over things too many times, I think, and I don't end up liking the result. But working on my values and trying to get them right the first time and not do the wrong color too. It's trying to get the combination of the right color and the right value the first time, which is a little bit tricky with watercolor because it dries lighter typically than you see it when it goes down. I'm quite pleased with the trees, and I think that they look pretty good. It's when I start doing the shadow here and this boat in the background that I start to overwork it a little bit. I love watercolor. I've been doing watercolor on and off my whole life, and it's actually one of my favorite mediums, but it's interesting as an adult to look back and see the blind confidence I had in my skills as a teenager and a young adult, and to know now that I actually have a lot to learn still. And I think that, when you're a quote-unquote gifted child, you can have weird, distorted perceptions of things because you get tons of praise when you're a kid from adults, and then suddenly you're an adult and you're actually just pretty average. So changing my mindset and actually seeing the reality of situations has been actually really good for me. I think it was kind of difficult at first, but now I'm really glad to have gotten where I am, to be able to see things more clearly and to recognize my skills more realistically, and so that I can actually now go forward and realize what I actually do need to learn and what I need to practice to get where I want to go. My cat is coming and she is yelling, so prepare. There she is. I do really like these trees, and I really like the effect of different elements blending together, like the tree seeping into the shadow there. The issue is I don't think I got the value quite right on the shadow, and the problem is the snow, despite being in shadow, should be a bit lighter than I did it. And I have no problem with exaggerating, but it's definitely just one of those things that I need to be aware of and keep working on. I love painting snow. I would not say that I'm good at it yet. I'm gonna keep learning and keep trying, though. It's weird that I love painting snow. Winter is not my favorite. I do like snow, I just feel like it stays cold here a lot longer than I'd like. I need to move somewhere where it's like autumn-ish all the time. If such a place exists. I really like this particular tree. I think it turned out nice. And here I am trying to pull the shadow and the boat kind of together so that the colors sort of mix the way that I want them to. The problem is that I went over this like 3 times and it sort of lost the effect that I would like. I'm also realizing that when I can afford to get more watercolor paint, because these are student grade for the most part, I have a handful of professional. I want to try granulating colors. And that's another painting that I will have the full process of up very soon. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and leave me a comment down below. Tell me what art you're working on and what medium is your favorite. I'm Anna. I'm a 36-year-old artist from Utah, and I'm really glad that you joined me today. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.